The first day of week one is finished in the college football season. I'm here to talk about it. I'm here mainly, though, to talk about the big game of the day, North Dakota State and Colorado. Colorado comes away with a 5 point victory. They sort of squeeze it out at the end. Really fun game, really, a lot of storylines in this game. I think before I get into what I want to say about Colorado, I just want to say good game to North Dakota State. They played amazing. I want to give them their kudos and their credit. I think if a few things go their way, they come out with a victory, and we're talking about this game in a completely different light. But for Colorado, I think this really comes down to two major things. One, this team is incredibly talented, just like last year. And that talent, in my opinion, is a lot more comfortable now than they were, last season. And I think that's going to increase their ceiling as a team. I think watching them play, watching Shadur in the system, watching Travis Hunter in the system, watching Jimmy Horn in the system, and watching the defensive line in the system, they played a lot better today, and I think that's play that is not just a fluke. I think this is play that's going to sustain itself throughout the season. However, I think this team suffers the exact same issues they had last year, which is really frustrating considering this is a team that's sort of doing the whole transfer portal experiment times 100. And they're supposed to be one of those teams that, like, hey, we identify holes we have and then we go fix it like a free agency. And they just haven't done that. For one, despite having Deion Sanders, one of the better cornerbacks to ever exist, their pass defense is awful. It was atrocious. It was exposed all game long. Every single time North Dakota State dropped back, it felt like they're getting 10 to 15 yards. And I think, when they're playing against these better Big 12 passing attacks, these like really good quarterbacks that are in their conference now, they're going to struggle. They're going to get chewed up. They're going to let up like a 50 bomb in one of these games. And we're going to be thinking like, what the hell happened? What's happening with this team? It's because they can't defend shit. I mean, Shiloh Sanders is spending like 90% of the game going and giving late hits to people instead of actually covering them. And it's like, why is this guy not out of the game? I'm sure that Colorado, who's landed really highly rated cornerback recruits, has somebody who's better than him because he's getting chewed. He's barbecue chicken out there. And they've got a lot of other guys that are just getting gashed. I mean, the passing attack from North Dakota State is not their strong suit, and they were getting a lot of yards in this game. And secondly, I think the more notable one, the easier to see one, is the offensive line. I mean, this offensive line looked like my offensive line in NCAA 25. I mean, it was bad. And we thought that maybe it'd be more improved. They went out, they got some big recruits for the offensive line. They tried to fix it, and it's just not working. Maybe it's like a gotta wait and see thing, but right now it looks to be the exact same as it was last year. A big problem for the team, something that's absolutely going to hamper this team's ceiling. It's absolutely going to lose them games. It's going to stop them from competing in the Big 12. I just think Shadur Sanders is going to be a massive injury risk this entire year, which is big. He has the chance to be a top 10 pick in this NFL draft. And if I'm him, I'm really concerned and if I'm somebody that's going to draft him, I'm really concerned because I'm thinking he's developing habits now about immediately bailing out of the pocket. And you see it. He's immediately moving out of the pocket, and those are just terrible habits to have going in the NFL. That's something that, like, we got to see how that develops. But I'm looking at it now. I just do not think this team is built to succeed. I think they're built to flash, and that's sort of the issue with Colorado. And I think it's always been that they're built to flash. They're built to have highlights. They're built to be good for social media. They're not built to win football games, if you get what I'm saying. Next up, I wanted to bring up a sort of general point. There's not a lot of games to really talk about, I'll be completely honest. Like, what am I going to tell you? There's so many of these games that are just blowouts between FBS and FCS opponents. But one thing I've noticed throughout this week and last week and week 0, a lot of teams are depending on the transfer portal now to get key positions. And I'm mainly focusing right now on the trenches, and I'm focusing on the quarterback position. And I've noticed almost every single one of these teams that's supposed to have like a guy come in, really blossom in their system, hasn't looked that good. You look at like Florida State last week with DJ Uiagalelei. Like, it did not look good at all. The offense looked completely stagnant. You look at Grayson McCall tonight with NC State. I mean, they were on the ropes with Western Carolina for 3 quarters. And I know Grayson McCall sort of showed up in the end. He showed up in the fourth quarter. But if they're playing like a better team, because Western Carolina is not a great FCS school, they're losing this game. And it's embarrassing. They're supposed to be a top 25 team. I just did not see it. UCF, they blew out New Hampshire, but I just did not think that KJ Jefferson looked good. I mean, I didn't think he looked that good at Arkansas anyways, but this is supposed to be a system that he's going to fit in better. He looked lost. He did not look very comfortable. And I've noticed that with a lot of guys that have come in. I think even Rutgers, who they played Howard. I think if they play a better opponent, they're not able to snowball the game, and we might be thinking about this Rutgers team completely differently. They just could not get the ball moving for 2 quarters. They had their starters in for 4 quarters. They had their starters in almost the entire game. It's Howard, which is like, I get you want to get rest, but at the same time, it's like if you have your starters in the fourth quarter against an FCS school, something's gone wrong. And I just think that like a lot of these schools, a lot of these teams are getting bit by the fact that they're relying on transfers coming in, guys who are not comfortable with the system, guys who have not been there for a while, because so much of quarterback and offensive line play is being comfortable with the guys around you and being comfortable in the system. It's all that confidence and comfort thing. And you get guys who, they come in with these high expectations, they come with these high hopes, like, oh, we're going to do great things here. And then things stop, like they don't work out, and you haven't been with the program long enough to really trust it. And I think that's sort of that's starting to bite people in the butt, in my opinion. I think it's starting to really screw these teams over and make things difficult. Overall, though, not a whole lot of crazy things. North Carolina, Minnesota was an absolute slugfest. Those are two schools that also have transfer quarterbacks. I'm not talking about Max Johnson in this one. I hope that he gets better. I didn't see what the injury diagnosis was. I don't think it's been done yet, but it looked really bad. I hope he's good. I hope he can play again. But both these offenses, I think, looked pretty bad. I think UNC and Minnesota are going to struggle this year. UNC doesn't win this game without their running back, Amarian Hampton, and Minnesota's missing their first running back. They pump out running backs like nothing. Marcus Major is pretty good, in my opinion, but I just think both these teams are going to be super run dependent. Their RPO style offenses are so fucking boring to watch. They're so slow. They don't move the ball very well. I think those are two teams that are going to struggle in their conference. Not a lot more I want to say. Interesting week. Got some points. Really focused, though, on that Colorado and North Dakota State game. I'm excited to see what comes about Friday. We've got some action with like Oklahoma showing what they're gonna have. Michigan State, new look team. TCU and Stanford should be a barn burner, and then we can finally get into Saturday and the main sort of competitions, the main marquee matchups that I'm super excited for. So I hope you guys have a good day, good night, good whatever, and I'll see you later.